The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lawrence. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
Well, beam me up, Chris, and we are here for another TCT, Talking Cowboys Tuesday, sponsored by Tostitos, the official chip and dip of the Dallas Cowboys. Come on, we got to get strong with that right there.
I didn't want to knock the plate over.
Don't. Okay, I got you. I appreciate you, dog. You don't know your strength.
You got to be smooth.
About that, you got to dip with that strong hand. The strong hand.
We're going to get to the strong hand. We got a lot of stuff.
We got a lot of things. We got the strong hand to talk about, all right.
Hey, it's also America's chip for America's team, right? Is that what's on top of that?
Thank you for not getting me in any trouble, because you're absolutely right. Man, that is what the read.
That's what the brothers are supposed to do.
I just want to make sure. I don't want to get someone
off
in
the
trouble
top rope,
at home.
Macho man style.
Beamer went off the top rope. He definitely pulled the leg of the person about to pin you. He just pulled their leg smooth from underneath them.
That's the cover.
Let's go.
Thank you guys for joining us this afternoon on Talking Cowboys. And guys, we got 60 minutes of nothing but Cowboys business to handle right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, we got.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh hell yeah! We got some business to handle. And look, the owner and general manager. Well, before I get to any of that, let me, because I need to slow down, Jim Shoes.
Excited, man.
I am a little excited. I'm here with my brothers, my usual suspect, my guy who has his own island. He is Rob P. Trinidad P. All gold, everything.
Yes,
Trinidad P. Island. Rob Phillips, and my guy, always to my right, or in front of me, former Cowboy and Super Bowl champion and gym owner.
The champ is here.
The champ is here. Isaiah Stanback, brother. How are you guys doing today?
Swell, man.
We're good. And you know what?
What?
Kyle's doing his thing out of town.
Tell you why.
But he's in spirit with us right now. They just passed the postseason overtime rule for Kyle just now in Florida.
Both teams.
At the spring meeting.
Did they do exactly what he was asking for? It's probably going to make
everybody
me
gets
sick
a
if they did.
chance.
I don't know the total ins and outs, but it says both teams now get a possession in the postseason OT, not regular season.
Somehow, I think that's going to change after next season. We're not going to be pleased with that either. Yes, and Kyle Yeomans is in New York visiting his fiance's family, who's probably threatening him every 30 minutes. So good luck with that, Kyle. We will make sure that we do a good job in your absence. But guys, let's talk about it. Had an opportunity to hear the interview from owner, general manager Jerry Jones in Florida. He was holding court with the media and had some things to say about how he is putting this team together. But I thought what was most interesting was his discussion on evaluating 10 to 11 players and the difficult decisions that he had ahead. And P, I'm going to start with you, but what were your thoughts on the interview, man?
Well, you're right. We got some insight on why Amari Cooper's not here anymore, why Randy Gregory is not here anymore, and it does come down to what you just said. He talked about how if you've got 10 or 11 guys taking up 2/3 of your salary cap, you got to get your bang for your buck. Now, we can debate whether, like an Amari Cooper is featured enough in the offense to get the bang for the buck. That's a whole separate discussion with Amari. But he feels good about what their cap situation now is, and I actually scribbled this down with some chicken scratch. We are better with our money, with our resources. We are better. We're in better shape than we were this time last year. So basically, and I mentioned this last week, what they did with Randy's money, which was going to be roughly, I think, $14 million a year, they re-signed a bunch of guys and brought in Dante Fowler and James Washington and fit that under the cap because they do have a lot of needs. Quantity is kind of what they've been going for. And look, you can debate whether that's the right strategy or not, But that's where he's coming from.
And in the words of Stephen Jones, we got 3 players for 1 player. So, Isaiah, I turn to you, and I want to ask you philosophically, as a front office, with the substitutions, the addition by subtraction that they made over the last couple of weeks, where are you as far as the way that this thing is starting to shape up roster-wise going into this season? You think they're making the right moves? These are tough decisions that they're making. Are these decisions that you would have made if you had that hat?
No.
No.
They're not decisions that I would have made, but I understand it. I'm always from the stance that you don't have to like the decisions that are being made, but you have to understand them and you got to respect them. And I think that's where I'm at right now in Cowboys Nation. I think that Jerry Jones and the rest of the squad are doing a great job. I think I said that last week in terms of creating value. They are doing a great job in that. People don't like to hear that because the superstars have left the building. Some of the superstars have left the building, and I understand the attachment to that. I mean, the big-name players, guys with big contracts that followed, guys weren't being utilized to the value in which they were being paid, and that's the angle that he's speaking from. I don't believe he's speaking from the standpoint, I hope he's not speaking from the standpoint of saying that these players weren't worth what they were getting paid. I do believe that he's standing behind it and saying, at least from my perspective, they just weren't utilizing them. So if you have a dually truck, right, you got a Ford, F-350.
You got tires.
And you got the dually, and you putting gas in it.
Good sponsor.
But a great sponsor. But if you're only driving to the grocery store, what's the point of having a big boy truck?
Right.
If you're not putting anything in the back of the truck, if you're not pulling anything, there's no point in having a truck. Go get a golf cart, right? Or go get something small. They weren't utilizing their big boy, in terms of Coop. He was capable of so much, but they weren't utilizing him. So if you're not going to utilize him, get rid of that and use that money elsewhere. And I think that's exactly where Jerry Jones is coming from when he was speaking on those matters. And I think they've done a great job of finding value with those funds that they were going to have tied up.
And Randy's a little bit of a different story because that deal was damn near done.
Yes.
Verbally not signed, but they wanted, and I think they went up from what they were offering initially to get that done. And then we talked about it last week. There was whatever happened there. I think obviously Randy's side was not happy with some of the language in the contract, whatever. But Jerry talked about how there was still some discussion that it might get done. He spoke to that yesterday, and then ultimately said El Paso. We're going to pass on that. We're going to move on, and we're going to fill holes with that money with multiple players. And Amari, they just wanted to move on from money-wise.
And I'm glad you bring that up, man, because when I read the word El Paso, I'm going to use that in everything that I do from
That's
now
your new
on.
thing now?
When I'm at the butcher block,
Don't
when they
say El
offer me
Chapo.
something, I'm going to say El Paso.
Just don't say El Chapo.
Don't say El Chapo. But at the same, to me, that was, I just reading in between the lines, that was, hit the road, Jack, in Jerry's terms. And it seemed like Randy Gregory was the one with all the beef by not signing. We heard so much from him basically saying that, look, these guys tried to cut in language and stuff like that. But Jerry just made it seem like I just wasn't going to do what they were asking me to do, especially if they wanted more money. Is that the take that you got from it? Or did you think that it was just one of those things where it got contentious and he threw his hands up? I
have not asked anyone since I heard that, but my first thought was it probably had something to do with the structure of the language. Like maybe if they'd taken some of their standard stuff out, then maybe Randy would have come back. That apparently that's not part of the Denver's offer. That language wasn't in there about forfeiture language and all that stuff. And Randy said, "Well, I'm gonna take this offer.
I'm gonna move off of that." And that's the weird thing about it was after the start, it came out that this is language that is universal. Everyone sort of has that in their contract, and Randy just obviously wasn't having it. But guys, if you've paid attention to the fan base, they are pissed off. Hey, there's no other way to put it. They are disappointed. In years past, I don't think I've ever seen in years past the Cowboy fans just pissed off at the front office by moves that they're making or not making, free agent acquisitions and all of that. And they haven't done that in a decade or so, not making a splash. Do you have faith up until this point that there will be some type of big trade happening, a free agent acquisition, or do you think they are fooling themselves by thinking that they can get everything that they need in the draft?
I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done. I don't know how many more big splashes. I think if you're going to get a big splash, I believe that it would come in the form of like a Bobby Wagner. I think that's what, and I don't think that they have the money to spend on Bobby Wagner. So that would be a big splash. So I think that they obviously have some key areas that need to get shored up. Some players are no longer available on the offensive line front. Guys have been getting scooped up left and right. So it doesn't seem as if they're that aggressive in that nature. But you're seeing some of these numbers also that guys are getting. And the reality is their salary cap situation doesn't allow for them to go out and sign the big boys that everybody wants. That's the reality. Everybody that you have circled on your list that you want on this team is going to demand big boy money. I mean, we're talking at least probably $15 million a year for most of these guys. Do they have that? No, sir, Bob. So the reality is the Cowboys are going to have to build this team through the draft or through some trades, which the trades are probably not likely at this point in time. So you're going to have to go find some talent that's sitting around at the house that didn't get the big money that they were hoping for, right? Free agents, like Van Der Esch, right? Van Der Esch, they say, hey, go out there and test it out. Oh, there's nobody out there? Okay, yeah, come on back home, right? So they're going to have to look for some guys like that are just sitting around hoping for the big opportunities and then scoop them up on some very friendly deals. But that's how they're going to have to add some veteran depth as well as adding some players through the draft. But there are some very key roles and positions that have to be addressed, and those are very risky picks in the draft. You start talking about tackle positions. You start talking about linebackers. The key guys in the linebacker, rush guys. These are guys that you can swing and miss. You can swing and miss. If you hit it, you hit it. But that's a high probability. Even in baseball, 300 is a good batting percentage, but you still missing 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't think they're done either in free agency, but I don't see a huge swing and a game changing guy come in through free agency. I think their draft meetings start Monday, and I think that's the larger focus will shift to that pretty soon. Mike McCarthy was on a conference call with the media. He did not go to the spring meetings in Florida this week. Dave Hellman was on the phone with him. Shout out to Dave for helping us out there.
DH.
They're going to Bama's Pro Day tomorrow. He's going to be knee deep in draft stuff, but I think they've still got things to do in free agency. They got to get a kicker. They were hopeful to re-sign Greg Zuerlein on probably a more team-friendly deal. That did not happen. He went to the Jets. He acknowledged that interior offensive line, guard, center, wherever, is a spot where they could use some help in free agency if it presents itself. I know, but like you said, who's out there? Will Hernandez just signed with the Cardinals. He was a guy that could be kind of, I think you could view him as a stopgap, a cover yourself guy,
bridge player,
and then go into the. That's the way they do this. I mean, that's James Washington, perfect example for the receiver position going in. Those are two spots that stand out right away, and. But I think the heavy lifting at this point's got to go through the draft.
But we've got a Pro Bowler signed since we last met, correct? Didn't we sign a Pro Bowler back?
Which Pro Bowler?
Oh, yes.
Freaking Anger.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, your guy. I mean, come on. Of course we got him.
How
back.
You just going to just disregard a Pro Bowler?
We didn't disregard.
There's only two of them in the whole league.
My bad. Yes, Anger is back. Anger the kicker is back.
Right?
$3 million a year.
He's one of the top 2 players in the world.
I'm sorry if I didn't just, yay!
That's important.
Punter!
Hey, I know, but he changed the dynamic of this defense last year. He helped them out a ton.
Tell you what, there were some games in December, I'm thinking New Orleans, where they just couldn't get anything going consistently offensively. He was a big part of them winning these ugly games down the stretch. But
field position, ball control. We did a lot of that. But nothing sexy so far.
No.
Nothing sexy. And it's one of those times in the offseason.
All I got a picture of the night professor when his wife tried to come out on stage. He said, "What you doing with that curtain on?"
Nothing sexy happening right now. And I think from the outside looking in, everyone is kind of like, how do you think you're going to fare with this? And coming into 2021, no one had the expectations, especially with the defensive line. I think you still kind of had some confidence in your offensive line that was probably misplaced, but I think that's where you had the most confidence. But just from the outside looking in, it just seems as though status quo may not get the Cowboys where they need to be, because if you look around the NFC East, other teams are getting better. I mean, they have the cap space and they are bringing in players. That doesn't make you nervous to think that, oh, we're just staying status quo right now and not making any strides?
No, it makes me nervous. It does because, and while they have signed a couple guys to fill some spots and it allows them to be a little bit more flexible with their cap like they want to be, to your point, this time every year, fans complain on Twitter, and especially my mailbag inbox. I'm kind of doing this when I'm opening the screen, because it's tough. But I think you're right. Like I think fans are even more frustrated, or at least a group of fans that we see on social media are, because you throw in not only their strategy, and you can debate whether it's the right strategy to have in free agency, but they've lost Amari Cooper, they lost Lau Collins. They lost Randy Gregory, and there have not been signings or additions that make you feel like, well, we upgraded. Certainly not upgraded. You filled the spots, but like Jerry said, we weren't better. Yesterday he said we weren't better before the draft until we got Micah Parsons or until we got CeeDee Lamb 2 years ago. I think they're saying wait and see. We're not done yet. But no, I mean it's hard to look at this roster right now and say, well, they're better than they were last year. I don't see that. On paper, I don't see that.
And some of that frustration also stems from the fact that you see how other teams are getting more bang for their bucks. And I'm just saying, like, the Tyreek Hill trade. I mean, think about what Miami gave up for him and what we got for Amari Cooper.
What about Adams?
That's a whole nother subject. I'm just saying, why did we give up so much leverage? In that situation, even with La'el Collins. I mean, we basically let this guy walk, and we gave up a first for Coop, got a fifth for him, and literally, like we're not, and even with Randy Gregory, not able to get anything. If he's going to leave, we're not even. It's not a sign and trade. He basically essentially goes, and we get nothing.
Well, Randy's different, yeah, because he's unrestricted and he could just walk. The Amari one, I think people look at that with one eye open right now because the Tyreek news that happened with Miami. Devontae Adams goes to Vegas and they get a nice haul of draft picks, right? I mean, I think those guys are – I think the difference is those guys are top 5, like, game-changing players. And this is going to probably sound like a knock on Amari Cooper, and it's not, because I think they should have kept Amari Cooper. But those guys have been game-changing players for teams that have won Super Bowls or competed for Super Bowls lately. And I think that's where the difference is. And it's kind of a what have you done for me lately league, and Amari, he didn't have a big year last year. We can debate why, but I think those guys are considered at a different level. Plus the Cowboys, it was well known the Cowboys were probably going to move on from Amari if they, there wasn't any report out there that the Chiefs are going to cut Tyreek Hill. I mean, I don't think that was going to happen.
I think the Cowboys gave up a lot of leverage by letting that information kind of leak out.
And Isaiah, I guess my question to you as a wide receiver, and you if the Cowboys already knew they were going to move off of Amari Cooper, why not get something bigger for a guy that you traded a first for, and then you see later that teams are getting, first, second, third, future picks. And I like what you said. These guys are game-changing receivers, but I'm sorry, when we got Amari Cooper, wasn't that the thought process that he was that game-changing guy?
And if he's not, and he was, for 2018, he was the reason you got to the playoffs.
So, let's say 3 through 5, where is Amari Cooper in the list of great wide receivers in the NFL?
But I kind of look at it just to finish up. To me, it's like talking about quarterbacks. Like there's a difference between like Dak's an excellent. I think he's an excellent quarterback, but there's different levels. Like there's levels to this. There's Rodgers, there's Brady's, and then to me that's where Amari is below those guys and what they've done the last couple years. I think that's and the Cowboys obviously feel the same way because they weren't willing to push money into future years on Amari's deal and say, hey, you're going to be part of our future. They felt like, based on the production, we're going to move on.
I agree. I think Tyreek Hill is obviously, he got what he should have gotten. I mean, he's that dynamic of a player. You look at Devontae Adams, he's that dominant of a player. Amari Cooper is very capable. I'm not putting him in that same conversation with them simply because those guys just single-handedly can disrupt the game. I think Amari Cooper can too, but they can in any system. So, to that point, yes, I feel like the Cowboys still should have gotten more value for him. Now, would they have been able to get a first and all these other? No, but they should have at least been able to get a third-round pick for him. A couple of third-round picks, but I think that it would have needed to happen during the season because as soon as the season ended, word got out, and everybody's looking at their salary cap issues. Amari's chances are he's not being utilized. It doesn't seem like Kellen Moore cares for him. Whatever, all these rumors about what he possibly said about Dak, all this kind of stuff just started coming about, and you just realized that you were losing all your leverage in terms of your ability to actually trade him away because teams were like, well, we'll just wait for him to become a free agent.
Yeah, I agree. Mainly that, but I also wonder maybe if his contract has something to do with it because he's got 3 years left on a deal that some team has to absorb. Devontae Adams is on the franchise tag. You can rip that up and sign him to whatever you want. And Tyreek was on a very team-friendly 1 year left on his contract too. I think it's a little different when you look at it financially, maybe.
Cleveland's happy. Cleveland's very happy.
Yeah, they are, and obviously they're going to use Amari Cooper a lot differently than we did. And I like what you just brought up, just the details of how those guys' contracts were expiring, and obviously on the franchise tag. Man. And those guys were completely different. Our guys, meaning the guys that were here. But I love what you said as well when you led off by saying that, look, it's like having a dually that you only use to go to the grocery store. Pointless. And now you send it to Cleveland and it's a car hauler. It's doing it's hauling horses
and cows and bison and everything else back there.
You got showing you how, basically showing you how to use this thing. And I think that's exactly where things are going. And for us, I think that the fan base is really ticked off about the lack of compensation that we could have gotten. What were you about to say?
Do you think Amari Cooper's happy right now?
I think he is today. I think he is.
He probably. I mean, Deshaun Watson's a terrific quarterback. They're going to be a good offense. I think he wanted to stay here, though. He did. And you saw the Cowboys or the Browns restructured his deal as soon as they brought him in. It wouldn't have surprised me if Amari would have been willing to do what Tank did to stay and get a new restructured deal, maybe take a little less.
You don't think that was presented to him?
I think they were ready to move on, honestly. And it's not that they don't think he's a good quarterback, but again, it's the value and all that stuff. And if you look at if they were to restructure, we talked about this in the mailbag today, Nick and I, if they were to restructure and push more money down where his cap figure's ballooning in a couple of years, well, then all of a sudden CeeDee Lamb's deal is up. And so how do you make that work? And they're willing to say, look, CeeDee Lamb can be our number one guy, whether we're skeptical of that or not. We've covered this, but they're willing to do that. And I think they can go in the draft and find another Michael Gallup. And Mike gets healthy, he's your number two, and then we develop another young guy. Because they've done it. They've done it in the past. They've drafted two receivers that they both feel good about.
Well, they feel firmly in their beliefs and have moved Coop on the dually. I will always associate a dually with him as long as I see him. But we talked about Mike McCarthy being absent for the annual meetings. But I want to talk in the next segment, guys, about why is everyone so comfortable disrespecting Mike McCarthy, and should he use his strong hand on someone? Coming up next here on TCT.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching grandma how to video call. and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboy fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life. Starting at just $20. Join now and get your fan pack, exclusive benefits, and more. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details and to join today. Back in action here on a TCT Tuesday, Talking Cowboys. We obviously got through the first segment successfully. Everyone is letting their true feelings be known about how the roster is being put together. But Coach Mike McCarthy was not at the annual meetings. And they took the pictures of all of the head coaches. And
was he hanging out with Taker?
No, he was missing in action.
I mean, Taker was here.
No, he wasn't hanging out with Taker.
He was here? He was here at the Medal of Honor. Not here, but at Arlington.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm just imagining, like, at the training table.
I know. I saw the excitement in your eyes.
You saw that? It was a twinkle in his
You didn't even
eye,
call
actually.
me. It's WrestleMania
Taker didn't text
week.
you or nothing.
Yeah, damn it.
So Mike McCarthy is missing.
Yeah.
All right. Not missing. He
was on the phone today. He said he was yesterday. I wrote my notes down. He said he was going back through the red zone offense today. And said, well, not at the meeting. He's watching film, man, trying to get better.
There was only 28 guys in the picture, so there's 4 guys missing.
There were 4 guys missing?
There was 4 guys missing. If you go back to the picture, there was 28 guys in the picture. So 4 guys were missing. Okay?
Can you identify who those individuals are, Chris?
Belichick?
I know 3 of them. Yes, Belichick was one.
Belichick skips the breakfast usually.
Yes, he never takes the picture. Okay. Dan Campbell, who just got announced to be on Hard Knocks, was not there.
That's right.
McCarthy, I don't know who the other one was. So,
okay.
Tweet Rob if you know who the last one is.
Yeah, everybody's only talking about Mike not being there.
But there was 4 people that weren't in the picture.
So let's talk about Mike, okay?
Let's talk about Mike
because Mike wasn't there.
He wasn't
and everybody is concerned. And obviously, Coach Belichick has infamous for not being at any of these things and skipping them whenever. But for Coach Mike McCarthy, it kind of gives you the twinge of, man, I am coaching my butt off. All right, look at me. I'm busy out here looking at red zone tape, and I am on the road. Is this a man that feels as though he is coaching for his football future here in Dallas? Because if you turn on the radio, if you read any of the articles, he is basically a lame duck in that there are other guys, won't say his name, that are going to be on TV this year that are waiting on him for his demise. So why are people so comfortable with disrespecting Coach Mike McCarthy?
The way the season ended, like you said, there's as much frustration with the fan base as we've seen in a long time, because it's just another year on top of the years since '95 when they got it done. I think, I'm sure he feels pressure. I mean, this job you do everywhere. I don't know who doesn't except for maybe Belichick, because he can kind of do whatever he wants. He's a made man. But, I think he absolutely does, and I think he is trying to show – he spoke to it on the call this morning. This is the biggest draft class in a long time because of the COVID rules. They're trying to dive in, man. He's trying to do whatever it takes to get back to where they were and not fall short. So,
or he realizes that he doesn't have any salary cap money to spend on free agents, and he has to do his homework to find some jewels in the draft.
There's that too.
And just asking you based off of your experience, is that something that most head coaches do instead of their assistants, scouts, that they're out there, boots on the ground, making these things happen?
They're all working. I'll just say that. All coaches are working. He didn't miss that meeting because he was watching film. I'm not sure what the reason was, but I know for a fact it wasn't because he was watching film. They have these things called tablets nowadays. It's crazy technology. And they said they give them to you when you go on road trips, and you have access to cloud. There's a thing called a cloud. And you can pull down all the files that you really want to watch. So he can do that anywhere he wants to. I don't know why he missed that meeting. Why are people hard on him? Well, he's the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys haven't won a championship in a very long time. And that was probably the most stacked roster they've had since, I would say, that I played here back in 2007. So
I agree with you.
The fact that they missed on a huge opportunity, people are going to be all over his head, especially when you're in the limelight like he is.
So at the beginning of the season, with the roster that we saw, your expectations for the Dallas Cowboys were what?
Oh, I mean, the NFC Championship was supposed to be just a sea walk. There's a sea walk through that, and then get to the playoffs and take care of business. I mean, I can't remember exactly what I said at that point in time in terms of I didn't have Super Bowl written over on their forehead, but I mean, I expect them to get past the first round.
Yeah, at least, or to have the bye. I think for me, it's really weird to hear an NFL coach.
That was huge. The bye is where a lot of my weight was.
Yeah,
that's why I was very disappointed.
Probably get that bye, right?
They needed the bye.
But just hearing the disrespect for him
from
media, just basically saying that this year obviously wasn't the result that he wanted as a coach. Everyone sets their expectation on the Super Bowl, but let's just say hypothetically, if Mike wasn't the coach of the Dallas Cowboys and it was Lincoln Riley, a coach like that, right? And he comes in, he goes 6-10 his first season in the COVID year. You're probably giving him some grace because of the COVID year. But then coming back and getting a 12-5, winning the division and going to the playoffs, having the same results, disappointing, your expectation would be a lot different. Your, I guess, disappointment would be a lot different. Mike McCarthy is the 5th winningest coach, active coach in the NFL.
That's cool.
And no one mentions that at all, the number of NFC games that he's played in, the Super Bowl that he has. Everyone else gets that mention besides him. And I think that's the disrespect that I'm talking about.
Well, that goes back to, Green Bay and playing with Rodgers, and when you have a quarterback who's a first ballot Hall of Famer that's kind of running things, like, do you get enough credit? Or is it just Aaron doing most of the work? So I think that's probably where it comes from. But yeah, I think the frustration too, like you just said, he's got the resume, and they didn't bring in a young guy or a Dan Campbell to build with. It's to win now, because in part because of his history. I can get teams to the Super Bowl, and that didn't happen. So yeah, I mean that's that like Isaiah said, I mean that is part of the job when you coach here. Like that is the expectation. He understands that. He's coming from Green Bay. It's just a bigger market.
And people call for Mr. Jones to step down all the time. He got 5 doggone rings. You know what I'm saying? He got rings on rings. And but when's the last time he had one? It's been a minute. So people are calling for his head because they're like, oh, the Cowboys aren't doing nothing. And he's the greatest owner in NFL history, right? So I mean, people are going to call for your head if success doesn't follow. And it's coming off a roster as stacked as this one, and for them to lay an egg the way in which they did, there's going to be a ton of scrutiny, and very deservingly so.
And maybe he's trying to send a message to his team by not coming out here. Because he did say, like, we saw the overtime rule, but there's not much that the coaches are doing this week. There's not a lot of voting going on this week compared to past spring meetings. And maybe he's trying to send a message like, I mean, we got captains workouts going on out here. The offseason voluntary program starts next month. I'm here. I'm busting my ass.
Ooh,
let's go.
Okay, Rob.
I'm talking
about him or you?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm here too.
I'm like, okay, Pete.
I'm not working as hard as McCarthy. I promise you that. But
we need to clip that, please. I'm here. I'm busting my.
Mark that, Chris, please.
So aside from the obvious things, he's out on the road. He's finding guys. He has his tablet out at all times. He's looking at the red zone.
Alabama tomorrow.
This guy is living out of a hotel room.
Private jets.
Which that's not unique, by the way. I've gone to that meeting in Florida, and I've run into Jason Garrett 10 years ago in the gift shop, and he's like, yeah, headed down to Tuscaloosa tomorrow. We're flying on the way home. We're stopping there. I mean, that's what you do. It's Alabama. Who doesn't go to that pro day?
But no one ever questioned where Jason Garrett was. Those were never tabloid front page. That was never newsworthy what Jason Garrett was doing. What?
The clapping convention.
The clapping convention.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying. I mean, think about the difference. Right now, everyone's asking the question, "Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Where's Mike?" No one ever asked. While Jason was at Duke getting, clues in from Krzyzewski, no one ever asked what was happening. I'm just saying, like, why is it so different for this guy? And what do you guys? Nothing is it nothing short of a Super Bowl that will save him? Is that where we are?
That's the expectation.
That's the expectation every year. But I'm just saying, like, literally, if we're sitting
that's
back,
the hope. That's the hope every
hope
year.
and expectation.
I think once the roster was set and people saw the product on the field and saw the culture change, specifically on defense and how that really rolled over into the offensive side of things, and saw the early Kellen Moore, who still had gifts in his bag, I think the expectation rose to at least second round of playoffs. First round of, like, NFC Championship, First round playoffs, okay, now we need to start talking about, now we're talking about the NFC Championship. Now we're talking about possibly going to Super Bowl. Like, that was the expectation once those first couple of weeks kind of went by, because you saw what this team was capable of, and you saw how the continuity was really coming together with those guys. So I don't care who the head coach is of the Dallas Cowboys right now. You could say any other names that that we know are out there right now, and I don't care if it's Sean McVay. It still would have been the same. I mean, if it was a failure, it was a failure to launch.
Only home team to lose in the first round.
Yeah.
And that's probably where it stems from mostly. But I did not have Super Bowl expectations for this team going into the playoffs. I really did not expectations, because I thought this was as balanced and competitive an NFC as we've seen in a while. And San Francisco has championship mettle, man, and they showed it. And they came within an eyelash of beating the Rams. 2 weeks after that, they went to Green Bay. I didn't feel great about the Cowboys if they had to go to Green Bay. I didn't feel great about them winning that game because they couldn't run the ball effectively up there. Down the stretch, they couldn't run the ball.
I can't get clapping convention out of my head. I don't even know.
That was a good one.
Where to go.
There's a lot of technique involved.
A lot of technique. What? So, over the last couple of weeks, we have seen some coaching vacancies get filled, and the Dallas Cowboys brought in Brian Schottenheimer, a guy that you are familiar with. I can't wait to hear what you think about that hire, who's coming on. He's replacing Ben McAdoo, who left for Carolina to be the offensive coordinator, and also Raina Stewart, who is the special teams assistant, taking the place of Matt Daniels, who is now with the Vikings. And so just kind of giving everyone some information about those coaches and why those spots were actually filled. Rob, I'll come to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, Stewart comes from Green Bay, so there's a history there. And Fossil has had a right-hand guy and in the past, so they were going to fill that spot. Matt Daniels was highly regarded here, so wish him the best. As far as Brian Schottenheimer, I think it's going to be similar to what Ben McAdoo did here, and people making a big deal out of this. Look, it's not Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn need help. No, I mean it's a game planning addition. It's a guy that Mike McCarthy worked with from the moment he got in the NFL. I mean, he knew his dad, Marty, and worked with him in '98 in Kansas City, and it's an opportunity for him to come here and help out. I mean, and be another set of eyes to help out some of the younger guys on the staff, to help with the weekly game plans, looking ahead, stuff like that. Not a big deal. So that's behind it. It's funny that you mentioned coaching and the pressure on Mike McCarthy, and I do think part of it is because it's going to have to come through coaching. Like we said, they've made some solid additions, a couple solid additions in free agency, but they still got holes to fill. It's not looking like it's going to be as deep of a roster. Coaching's got to bring that together. We saw what Dan Quinn did on defense last year. It's got to come through coaching and coaching guys up and guys taking another step forward. CeeDee Lamb taking another step forward. That's where it comes from on this roster. They're going to be better than they were last year.
And these aren't coaching vacancies. This isn't a coaching position that they created. These were vacancies that they filled. And so I believe
consultant role. Yeah.
Consultant. And so Ben McAdoo's position was basically following league trends and game planning. And so making sure that the team was, if there's a Sunday, Thursday game, that they are already up on who they're going up against next. That was Ben McAdoo's job. What is it, Isaiah? Isaiah has this look. So, yes, there's an assistant to the assistant. So this is the way we're putting this together, and this is the guy that's going to help Kellen Moore right the ship and get this offense clicking, baby.
Okay. Yeah.
Okie doke.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of jobs in the NFL now. They just kind of make things. Listen, he has a great resume in terms of places that he's been, experiences he's had, quarterbacks he's had the opportunity to work with. So I hope that he can come in and add something to that quarterback room. I hope that he can bring an element that Dak needs to help him with the development of his game. And maybe that's a key portion to them putting them over the edge this year. To your point, it doesn't look like they're going to have the roster depth that they need, but maybe they have the coaching depth. Maybe the coaches are able to have that much more of an impact, and it affects the product on the field. But I'm just baffled by these coaching positions that just keep getting created. What you just described, every team has that without having that position of a coach. Every team has these. The offensive, assistants and all that kind of stuff, they work weeks in advance. Weeks in advance. You could be in week 1. They're breaking down week 6. Like, that's how far off these guys are, because by the time that game actually approaches, they're handing you a folder that has way too much information in it, that has analytics broken down by personnel groupings on down and distance, third and 1 to 3 versus down and 4 to third and 4 6. When this personnel versus this personnel grouping, this is the percentage they blitz. It's so much information. I don't even know how they do it. I would love to sit in and just learn for a second with a check. But so I mean, they just found a role for him. They just wanted him on the staff, and they just created something.
Now, with your experience, you obviously being a Seattle native, what has been your observation of Schottenham?
I don't have anything to add, honestly. I mean, he wasn't there when I was there. He was there later on in 2018, somewhere around there. He's had the opportunity to work with Russell Wilson, so I'm hoping that there's some things that he could take from that, to bring over to help with Dak's game. Hopefully that's the element that he brings. I would assume that that's the leadership aspect that they're hoping to bring into that room to try to take some of that off. Maybe it needs to be a buffer between Kellen Moore and Dak, whatever it may be. But hopefully he can be that guy that can be the doggone angel on Dak's shoulder to help him make good decisions.
And that angel, he definitely needs that good angel on his shoulder. But the thing is that when you look at Brian Schottenheimer's coaching record in 2018 when he was with Seattle, that was the year that Seattle was leading the league in rushing. I mean, which is a passing coordinator guy and all that. I think that's kind of a,
this is a play action team, man.
This is absolutely a play action team. And I also like what you said about Russell Wilson. I think I've always had the equivalent of a game like comparison has always been between Dak and Russell, which I think Russell obviously has the incredible arm, but at the same time, I think that's the correlation between the two. He also had a stint in Jacksonville, but nothing about this bothers you guys from bringing in new coaches, just status quo. You're basically saying that, look, this isn't anything new. This is what guys do anyway. But does that set the table for what we've been talking about for Mike McCarthy, as you alluded to before? Like, look, this is going to be a coaching challenge, and just like Dan Quinn, these guys are going to have to bring their level up in order to I don't want to say keep their jobs, but obviously elevate this team.
No, look at the offensive line. Look at. I mean, they're going to have a new left guard, whether it's a draft pick, whether it's a stopgap veteran. They're going to probably try to bring in some competition at center. They still got a young guy, Terrence Steele, who's the right tackle. They've got to take a step forward, and that's largely on Joe Philbin to coach up that room. So it's going to be a huge factor in whether they can take another step forward, because I still think there's talent on this team. We talked about, like Jerry mentioned, the 10 to 11 guys. It's a 53-man roster, and they were fortunate last year to have as much health as they did down the stretch. You can't count on being as healthy as they were.
That was a dream.
In January for a future year.
And so I love the question also that was asked to Jerry about what we're doing in the draft, and his thing was, I'm doing offensive line unless there's a Micah or a CeeDee sitting there, which I don't believe any of it, because they're heading in a whole nother direction. But Mike, just off the cuff, I got to ask, at left guard, why isn't Connor McGovern been given much consideration there at left guard. I mean, everyone was had the pom-poms out for him mid-season, and now that's all dissipated and going away. Come on, Isaiah, tell me something. That's your guy.
That's your guy.
C. Matt.
That McGovern. I have nothing against McGovern. I think he's a good player.
Was that a McLovin?
Yeah, but I think you have to bring somebody in who's was a complete dog in college. Like they're just like he has an attitude like I'm a dog and I'm McNasty and I don't care who stands in front of me. I don't care if they've been in the league for 10 years or I'm a rookie. You have to either bring in that type of guy that's just physically imposing, or you have to bring in a veteran who's a sure thing that can add to what you have going on to the left of him with big Tyron, and to the right of him, which will be obviously I just blanked out. What's our center?
Tyler Biadasz.
Biadasz. So Biadasz needs help. Biadasz needs help. I don't think that we're going to see a replacement of Biadasz. I just think that they're going to try to add somebody that is going to support him. Right? I mean, he has somebody. He got a little limp to him right now, right? I think he just needs somebody to.
A little kickstand.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Now he'll be stable. It's kind of like the old school table at the house that you had to put a little piece of paper underneath because it was wobbly. Or if you go to a restaurant, you got to put the little folder. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
There you go.
We got to fix our wobbly table at center. Now I'm going to always see him as a wobbly table. Thank you.
Little coaster on him.
He works. He just needs a little support.
Yeah.
Speaking of support, we got a guy with 2 8s in the building, and boy, those 8s are starting to get heavy.
Heavy like a Chevy.
Heavy.
We're a Ford company.
We're Ford
here.
Yeah, Ford.
We pull stuff.
That's right.
In the dualies.
And so he's going to have to pull that 88 around. Coming up next on TCT.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching grandma how to video call. And teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands, with Essilor lenses, you'll see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor expert and find the perfect Essilor lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor. Back on Talkin Cowboys as Isaiah slaps the mic from one side to another.
I did not go as firm as Will Smith.
We've been slapping for about 50 minutes already. And come on, let's just get it out of the way.
His hand was strong.
It was a strong hand.
Strong hand.
Very strong hand.
Let's just get it out of the way.
The walk up, let's ask this question, and we can move on. Who was more in the wrong, Chris Rock or Will Smith?
It was so embarrassing. Period.
It was.
I don't. It's really hard for me to kind of place it and pick a side. It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassment.
It was an embarrassment.
Complete. But his disregard for Chris Rock's face at that point is just
the Batman follow through.
Yeah,
but that's what comedians do, though, right? I mean,
that's
his job.
That's Chris Rock. That's
a line.
It's Chris Rock.
There's a line.
You assume that he knew she had that.
Yes, I very much. That's facts.
You don't know.
Facts.
You don't know. Did he know that?
The word is he didn't even write that. The writers wrote it.
Oh. He got slapped for something somebody else wrote?
Yeah.
Oh, that's insulting. I'd be so upset about that.
Hey, but the technique was flawless. If you're going to slap somebody, that is the proper way to slap somebody. I seen that in the hood growing up.
This is true, I'm sure. This is a thing that has happened a lot. But here's the question, P. Has anyone ever walked up and slapped you in your face?
Ooh.
Have you ever been slapped in your life, Rob?
Not slapped.
You been mushed?
Not mushed. I've been booped.
Ooh. Oh, you got a boop?
Since we're on the super.
I'm sorry. What was it?
Since we're on the super bad train here.
I'll beat somebody up. They boop me.
Do I need to dump this?
No.
It's
McLovin. No, it's not McLovin. It's the other two guys.
Wait a minute. I mean, how does that go? What do you do after that?
Which was worse, the slap or a boop?
That's a loving thing. That's not fighting.
No, the boop might be more disrespectful than a slap.
I actually one time.
Uh-oh.
I accidentally slapped a guy playing basketball.
It was an accidental slap.
I went to go upside the head, kind of like
whoops upside the head?
Yeah, kind of like Billy Hoyle style, and I went low.
Wow.
And the guy just laughed at me. He just laughed. I thought I was going to get my ass kicked, but he just laughed at me. I don't think I've ever been slapped.
So he didn't boop you?
No boop. No boop.
Have you ever been slapped?
Boop is love.
Wow.
Have you been slapped?
Man, let me tell you. Somebody will need a doctor and I will need a lawyer. That's not the business. Yeah. That's not the business. And I think,
what about y'all?
That's what I'm just saying. Like I've been look, man. I don't
even know a finger. I don't even know a finger in the face. A finger in the face to get your finger dislocated. Yeah.
But that's just one of those things where you slap somebody. It's so disrespectful. One,
it is
to slap anybody.
But we knew he was a slapper. We knew he was a slapper when he was on the red carpet and the foreign dude tried to kiss him.
Yeah,
he slapped that guy, and then he slapped somebody. And he slapped what's your name in Hitch. He's a slapper.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he is.
I haven't seen all of it.
Go back and check that out.
He's a habitual slapper.
The guy who kissed him in the mouth,
it was a backhand slap.
Yeah, it was like,
It was a backhand slap.
I mean, that's the guy that you. Hey, that's who you give the McLovin to right there, baby, because that's not a. I just look, man. I will say this and end it all.
We gotta go.
Is that Chris Rock showed a lot of restraint.
He did.
By staying on code and still handing out the award after being slapped.
That was
impressive.
You could tell, like right in the moment, people thought, is this a joke?
Until he started talking.
But you could tell with his reaction, like it wasn't. But we talked in the break, like, are they gonna take his Oscar away?
Yeah, they will.
I mean, I hope not.
They will.
It
was going to suck, but they will. They have to.
Set an example. Yeah. And speaking of setting an example, we have a guy here in the building that has, man, what an undertaking he has with probably the biggest number on the team wearing number 88. And the pressure is right on him, especially now with Amari Cooper being in Cleveland. You talked about it as just saying that, look, the team was going to make this decision to move on from Cooper anyway to allow for CeeDee Lamb to have the opportunity to be a number one receiver. But Isaiah, I've got to ask you, in your observation of CeeDee Lamb and the job that he did, and obviously his coming out this year being an 1,100-yard receiver, do you think he is ready for the weight of being a number one receiver?
No. Let me pick my words wisely. I don't think that he's ready to be a number one. I'm not sure if his confidence level is there yet. Not to say that he won't be there relatively soon. But I also don't believe that anyone, and I don't think CeeDee, I'm going to say this now. CeeDee,
What is that?
at this date, on this date,
Yes.
as of right now, okay, but tonight was it 29th, right?
Yes.
I don't think that there will be a number one receiver that will sign a big contract here in Dallas with this leadership. Reason being, they just prove to you what they do with number one receivers. Number one receivers don't have value here. Number one receivers don't have any reign here because we're not going to feed you like a number one. We're not going to feature you like a number one. They just showed you that. There was no conversation about Coop's inabilities at any point in time. There's been no discussion about what Coop can't do. Coop can't run routes. He does an amazing job with routes. Coop lost a step. He definitely didn't lose a step. Coop can't get off the ball. He definitely gets off the ball. Is he dropping balls? Nope. He caught the ball. So isn't that what number ones do? So if you're a number one, that's what Coop was, a true number one, they just got rid of you, right? So now what's the incentive now for anybody to honestly be titled a true number one? I think he's going to be a highly valuable player for the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to be somebody that's very dependable, somebody that they're relying on heavily. But to say that he's a number one, then at that point in time, I had to put him in the context of a Tyreek Hill and a Devontae Adams and everybody else.
Exactly.
And I don't think he's that.
You don't think he's that?
You think he can get there?
I
like
think
with his physical skill set,
I think he
there?
can, just not here.
Because of the way they run offense.
Yes.
Do you think they'd be willing? Because they got to take. I mean, Mike's here; he's working. Do you think they're taking a hard look at this potentially and being like, we have to change what we do
schematically?
We feature receivers, and like I spoke earlier. Okay, we're not going to pay both guys. We think CeeDee can be that guy. That's why we're making this transition away from Amari. But we need to, in the future, if we think CeeDee can be that guy, we have to feature him more that way.
When I say, as of right now, CeeDee's a really good receiver. Okay, but when I think about number one receivers, you have to do something exceptionally well. You have to be exceptionally fast, Tyreek Hill. You have to be exceptionally quick, Tyreek Hill, Renfro, right? Yeah. Or route runners, okay? You start talking about, the Cooper Kupps of these world where just exceptional route runners, right? They don't have any other amazing, crazy attributes, but they're going to run a heck of a route and they're going to catch the ball.
Keenan Allen.
Guys like this, right? There's not one attribute that CeeDee currently possesses that is that dominant. Now, collectively, he's a really good receiver. He's not going to blaze by anybody off the line of scrimmage. He's not just an amazing route runner at this point in time. He's a good route runner. He's not an amazing route runner, right? He hasn't caught the ball consistently, right? So you start looking at the attributes of a number one receiver. He hasn't put that together yet. And I think that he will relatively quickly. He's going to have to figure it out. But again, I'm not sure if that's going to be the opportunity here in Dallas just because of what they're telling you right now. We're a system team.
What's hard for me to wrap my head around is what you're saying about him not being here or not getting paid here when Amari Cooper got paid here. He got paid. He signed a large contract, and obviously the door opened up just for CeeDee Lamb to get signed, and all of a sudden this wide receiver room is crowded. I guess where I'm coming from a scheme standpoint, with the way that Kellen Moore is calling this offense, and there won't be an opportunity now for teams to say, we're going to bracket coverage on one of your guys. How does that open up the offense now being that, look, Mike G may not be back for the beginning of the season, but let's just say hypothetically he is. You have James Washington and you have a draft pick and other guys that will be there as well. You don't think that he can carry the weight in a scheme where it's not even calling for him to be, quote unquote, that lead dog that you're saying?
Let me ask you guys this, and you guys know I'm a straight shooter, straight and no chaser.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that you have to double team CeeDee Lamb right now?
No.
No, I mean, it hasn't been proven like Amari. Although Amari didn't get a ton of double team, which is why the production was surprising.
If they would have threw him the ball, you better double team Amari Cooper. Right? Tyreek Hill, you better freaking double team him. Devontae Adams, you better double team. All the number ones, you better double team them. Otherwise, they will single-handedly wreck you. CeeDee hasn't stepped into that circle yet.
And I know it's just training camp, and I know I've told myself personally, like, don't overreact to everything you see at training camp. But I just know, 30 days in Oxnard, just watching him every day, it was like, man, this guy could be a star.
Oh, yeah, he can be.
And it hasn't showed, although these numbers, and I know they're just numbers, but they do jump out at you. I didn't realize this. This is from Mickey's column. 153 catches in his first 2 years are a franchise most. And he's the first Cowboys receiver to get at least 1,000 in each of his first 2 seasons. I mean, he's put up numbers. Yeah. It's just there's consistency. He's had some drops, and he hasn't been asked to be the guy.
Correct.
Yet. So.
But now that he is.
But the opportunities that he has had to be the number one guy, we didn't see. There was a couple opportunities this year where we were like, all right, this is it. And then.
And all of that, I think, has been overshadowed by how they have used these guys in concert with one another. But the numbers don't lie. Based off of what you're saying, and this is a franchise that's been around for a very long time, for him to set those first says a lot about his talent. You asked me the question about him being double teamed, and I say no because, like Rob said, I just hadn't seen it yet. But in the game, like let's say, for instance, in the Patriots game, the overtime, the walk-off touchdown, you see right there, I mean, he's by himself, superior route ran and touchdown. We saw in his rookie season, when you use him at the slot position, what he's able to do. Slot position is one where, man, this is a guy that can expose your defense if you put him in the slot. Do you think that that's where Kellen Moore is putting his attention? If you're going to use this guy to his full potential, that's where it has to be.
That's the question. Will CeeDee Lamb reach his full potential here in Dallas? And currently under this regime, because I know everybody's going to say that. Isaiah said CeeDee can't. I didn't say it. I'm saying where he's not yet. All right? I say CeeDee is fully capable as a player to be a number one receiver in this league. Absolutely. Within this system, he's restricted.
If you're Kellen Moore, are you saying to yourself, it's time to change?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so.
Because imminently, that's where the rubber meets road is in him changing his philosophy on how he uses it.
But if you're willing to change your philosophy, then why'd you let Coop go? You know what I'm saying?
Well, because I think
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I think that was my kind of hypothetical or whatever. Devil's advocate is that if we're just going to pay one, let's go with the younger guy, our draft pick, but moving forward, we need to change how we do things, and he's got to be featured because I don't think you can run it back the way they did it and just kind of try to spread it around and work underneath with Schultz, and that's going to get it done. I mean, especially if you can't run the ball. I don't think that they've got to find a way to feature their top guy more. I'm with you guys on that one.
Well, look, speaking of that, I mean, in closing this whole thing out, guys, this is going to be the first time that we go to Oxnard where our offensive line isn't the strength of our team. And so talk about newsflash and so much work to do.
There's gaps.
There are still gaping holes left to be filled for the Dallas Cowboys as the offseason rages on. We'll be back in the building next Tuesday, and Kyle Yeomans, this will be your spot. It will be waiting for you, brother. Ooh. So Lorena's family, please don't put him in the Hudson, all right? But we did our thing today. Ballin', TCT, baby!
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!